Hi, are you dreaming of America? Today, we're going to be talking all about how to get US immigration done by getting visas and green cards. I want to preface this by saying that this is an educational offering. I am an attorney. My name is Sophie Alcorn, and if you need legal advice, you should definitely reach out to a qualified immigration attorney for a private one-on-one consultation. So today I'm going to introduce myself, share a little bit about US visa basics, talk about some specific visa options that are very popular, such as the H-1B, the E-2 for citizens of Pakistan and other countries, the L-1 visa, the O-1 for extraordinary ability, which a lot of startup founders want to obtain, and also some different ways to self-petition for a green card for yourself without a business and without getting married to an American. I will also be discussing some recent immigration updates. So let's begin. By way of background, my name is Sophie Alcorn. I write for TechCrunch. I have a weekly immigration advice column called Ask Sophie, where I answer your questions on how to navigate US immigration law. I'm also the founder of Alcorn Immigration Law in Silicon Valley. We've helped thousands of businesses and startup founders and employees navigate the US immigration process successfully. And I believe that we should create a world where every person has the chance to self-actualize, live their dreams, and build their potential. You can always reach out to me. I'm at sophie@alcorn.law. You can also check out my website, alcorn.law, where you can find my recent book, which is a bestseller. It's a choose your own adventure guide to US immigration called Ask Sophie, the Founder's Guide to Visas and Green Cards. You can sign up for our online course, Alcorn Academy Extraordinary Ability Prep, and you can have your credentials assessed through Legal Launch, as well as reach out for a consultation. My team is comprised of senior attorneys and paralegals who have dedicated their careers to helping immigrants come to the United States successfully. And when I work with clients, I often ask them to tell me about themselves. You know, some people have already been to the United States. Maybe they're from a certain country, they've gotten an ESTA, but most often people have B1, B2 visitor visas in their passports. Some people have come to the US as F1 international students, maybe for undergrad or a master's degree or a PhD. Sometimes if they've studied in a STEM field, they might even have up to 3 years of work authorization after they graduate. And other people already have one type of work visa or another, and they're interested in shifting between categories. Sometimes people inquire because they want to personally immigrate, and sometimes they reach out because they're looking to sponsor a team member or a co-founder, perhaps a contractor they've been working with overseas who they want to bring to the US and work together in person with. So there's a lot of situations that typically come up. And we also work with a lot of sizes of companies. We work with aspiring founders who are just at the idea stage. We work with startups that have already been incorporated or other companies that have already been doing business. Sometimes our clients have raised venture capital or other forms of funding, or maybe not. And many of our customers and our clients are pre-MVP or pre-revenue. Some already have customers or clients and traction. So whatever of these categories you find yourselves in, the information that I'm about to share is relevant, and there are pathways forward for whatever you're looking at. So some basics about how US immigration law operates that are important to know. We kind of have 3 general categories. So there's visas, which are temporary statuses. You get the visa in your passport, you can go in and out. When you come in, you have to be here for a specific purpose. Sometimes you can work in certain categories. Maybe there's minimum pay requirements or other obligations. Sometimes you can't work at all. So it's very important to know which category you're entering in and what the specific requirements are. But usually visas are time-bound and for a specific purpose. If your goal is to stay in the US longer term and eventually become eligible to apply for citizenship through the naturalization process, then your next step would be a green card. Now, you actually don't have to have any sort of visa before applying for a green card. You could simply start now, apply for a green card, even if you've never been to the United States. In most cases, it would probably take you 3 to 4 years to actually get your green card and be able to move to the United States. So many people prefer to have a visa first because those can be obtained in 3 to 6 months or so, depending on the category and what country you're coming from and how much preparation is required. Many paths to the green card, family-based, there's a lottery. Most of what we do, helping people in tech and the venture capital ecosystem and startups, has to do with self-petition green cards, where you're asking for a green card for yourself. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but typically the EB-1A green card, which is the fastest, as well as the EB-2 national interest waiver green card as well. And then typically after you've had a green card for 5 years, if you want to apply for citizenship, you can. Some benefits of becoming a US citizen are obviously the US passport and the ability to travel around the world. You can sponsor your parents for green cards. And if you want to be a digital nomad and be gone a long time, you don't have to worry about jeopardizing your permanent residence from long absences. You can travel as much as you want internationally once you're a US citizen. So let's go through some of the categories. We'll start off with the H-1B specialty occupation. Any US companies that want to put their candidates or employees into the lottery, now is the time. We are currently accepting new clients, and our fees will increase on February 20th as the lottery, which is in March, will draw closer. There are hundreds of thousands of people who apply for this, hence it is a lottery. So typically any single candidate might have a 20 to 25% chance, slightly higher if they obtained a master's degree or a PhD in the United States. But one very important update from the last few weeks is that some new guidance was released by US Citizenship and Immigration Services. And now if you're a founder or the owner of a business and you want an H-1B to work in your own startup, you can actually still qualify to get an H-1B today, which is a new improvement. We used to say you have to have a 3-member board, you need to be able to be fired, you have to dilute your equity. But because of the work of amazing immigration lawyers around the country, we were able to get the government to update their position on this and clarify that if you are employed at a corporation, you meet the requirements for an H-1B, even if you are the majority owner. So it's very exciting. Founders no longer need to divest their equity or control in order to qualify for an H-1B. So as I mentioned, the lottery is happening now. It will be in March. Typically, if people are selected, you'll find out in April. And we are accepting clients. And then another critical element is the very first start date is October 1st. And if you get an H-1B visa over the summer, you would be allowed to come in 10 days before October 1st to start working at your US company. We can also help people get H-1Bs without the lottery by having 2 H-1Bs, one working at a CAP-exempt institution, such as a research nonprofit, or an educational nonprofit affiliated with a university. Those employers are not required to put their candidates in the lottery. So if you have a part-time job at one of those companies, you can get another part-time or full-time job at a private company that would typically be required to go through the lottery. There are also L visas for intracompany transferees that have been managers or executives or workers with specialized knowledge for at least 1 year in a company abroad. And they're transferring to a parent company, a branch, an affiliate, or a subsidiary in the United States. You can even get that for a new business in the United States for 1 year. And there's also E2 investor visas. Pakistan citizens are eligible. Typically, you need to invest between $75,000 and $300,000 of money into your company before we can do an application. And the applications can often take 6 months to a year. So often my clients prefer other visa pathways as entrepreneurs, but this is also, something that everybody should know. And then Let's say you are a Pakistan citizen owning over 51% of a US company and you've made the investment and you've gotten your own E2 investor visa. You can bring any Pakistan citizens who have skills that are essential to your business to the United States on that same investment-based process for your company. There's also the O1 for extraordinary ability, very popular amongst startup founders. Even VCs go for this. Anybody who's even a little bit famous in the country that you're from or the world, as long as you show 3 out of these 8 criteria, you can get an O1. We can also get an O1 through an agent, and that will allow you to have multiple income streams in the US, engage in multiple jobs or companies in your endeavor, be a startup advisor, get paid to give speeches, do consulting work, run your startup. It opens up a lot of possibilities. It's typically available for 3 years initially and can be renewed indefinitely. There's no minimum wage and no lottery as well, which make it very popular. But one drawback is that if you're married, your spouse does not automatically get work authorization. The green card process is typically 3 steps with a company, but when you self-petition, you can skip step 1. So you'll just be doing an I-140 in the EB-1A or EB-2 national interest waiver categories. And then when it's your turn at the front of the line, which we call your priority date being current, then if you're in the US on a work visa, you can move on to the final stage, the I-485 adjustment of status, through which you get a work permit. Eventually you'll get travel permission. And then ultimately you and your family and any children under 21 can get green cards. If you're already in the US, instead of 3 to 4 years abroad, this is more likely to take 1 to 2 years in the United States. And there's a preference right now and a prioritization of individuals working in emerging technologies, which is considered in the national interest. So the EB-1A green card is the fastest. It optimizes for speed, but it's the hardest to qualify for. If you get an O1, then you can try an EB-1A next. It requires a longer track record of success. And if you want to have an easier pathway and you were not born in China or India, then take a look at the EB-2 National Interest Waiver Green Card. If you have a master's degree or exceptional ability, and you're going to help America in the future, which we can demonstrate through entrepreneurship with a business plan, then you can self-petition for an EB-2 National Interest Waiver. It's a little bit slower. It might take 6 to 9 months longer overall, but it's a great green card pathway as well, and both lead to 10-year green cards. Recently, the government is making it a lot easier for high-skilled and STEM immigration. So 2024 is definitely the time to take action and reach out if you have questions. We would love to help you accomplish together. You can reach us at alcorn.law, and here's a QR code to sign up for a consultation. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to answering any further questions. Wishing you all the best.